Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So today we are going to talk about the new adventure pack, White Plume Mountain, and we're just going to go over it. There are 5 quests in the pack. Let's go over it. Talk about each of the quests individually. Talk about the loot a little bit, and I'll give my opinions, what I think of the adventure pack as a whole. So first of all, as I mentioned, the pack consists of 5 different quests, and unlike other packs, most other packs, the quests don't seem to be tied together in terms of having to run them in an arc. So you can run each of the quests individually. There's no flagging, anything like that. They're actually in different locations. For example, White Plume Mountain is in the Haunted Halls, whereas the rest of the quests are actually in the 12. So there are quests that are in the same pack, but they're not related in any kind of forced way in terms of flagging or running or anything like that. And they actually exist in different level ranges. So some of the quests are low epic levels, some are mid epic levels, and one of them, White Plume Mountain, is the only one that's a legendary quest, meaning above level 30. So, and actually, the exception to this is the heroic versions are actually all at the same level. They're all at level 6. But when it comes to the running them on your epic characters, legendary characters, you may be interested in one quest more than the others, and that's what I'll get to here in a minute. But overall, I will say the quests overall are very good. So let's go ahead and start one by one. Let's start with the highlight quest, which is White Plume Mountain. The quest actually named White Plume Mountain, sort of similar to the name of the adventure pack. Okay, so this is definitely the highlight quest of the pack. It has definitely the best loot, and as I mentioned before, it's the only legendary quest in this pack. So it's if you're into farming in-game gear, this is probably the only quest you'll want to look at for in-game loot that you might want to grind. The quest itself is made up of 3 different paths, and at the end of each path, you have to get a crest, and you need to turn in all 3 crests to basically open a force field or door to finish the quest. So because of that, you can run it in different ways. You can run it together as a group and go up each path together, say if you want to run it on a really challenging difficulty, or what I've seen people doing on my servers, you can split between the 3 paths. You can say assign 2 people to each path and get the quest done really honestly 3 times as fast. And I think a lot of people are doing that because they want to farm this quest for loot. So the gear in the quest is good. It's not going to be stuff everyone wants in terms of the actual item gear, but there is one item that everyone's going to want. That's called the Spark of Memory, which adds an extra filigree slot and adds basically plus 1 to your max filigree slot. So every character in the whole game is going to want that item. So everyone's going to want to run this eventually, and just because of that one item alone, this quest will have tons of replay value unless they start putting the Spark of Memory in other adventure packs in the future. Assuming it stays exclusive to this quest is going to be replayed really forever because everyone's going to need to get that. And it's sort of like a quest like say like the Delirious chain back in the day when you had to run that quest to get the voice of the master. Now they've introduced the voice in other ways and augments and things after that, but for a long time you kind of had to run Delirious to get your voice of the master. And it's kind of similar with this. You're going to need to run White Plume Mountain and farm out your extra filigree slot if you're into min-maxing your character at in game or just having the best sentient weapon you can. Another really cool thing about this quest that makes it worth farming is it also drops sentient XP gems. I've seen 1000 XP. I believe that's the only iteration of the sentient gems that is dropping. I think it's just 1000 XP, but that's a really good chunk of XP. So it's really cool thing to farm. And then the regular loot as well is pretty good. There's a great sword, that Black Razor, that I've seen a lot of people really want, which has some cool effects on it. There's a variety of other gear that you may want on your character that's pretty good for end game. So there may not be anything you want, but that said, there may be a couple things that you want. So it just depends on the character and the class you're running. So it's definitely worth taking a look at. So definitely the highlight quest. It's a fun quest. There's a lot of unique encounters, cool boss fights. I'm not familiar with White Plume Mountain in terms of the pen and paper version, but from what I've seen, it does a pretty good job of staying true to that. Okay, the next quest I'll talk about is Another Man's Treasure, and this is a quest in an underground bunker, basically. there are a variety, and you have to. This one deals with kobolds a little bit. I know some people were kind of upset about that, but there's not a lot of like fighting kobolds. Really, it's more like you're doing little things for kobolds. But there's a lot. One thing I like about this quest is there's a lot of unique mechanics. There's actually a trivia section. There's a few underwater sections, which we don't see those a lot in DDO, just occasionally, but it's cool. There's underwater sections. There's there's some puzzles. There's two different mazes actually in this quest, one of which is an invisible wall maze. There's actually a portion of this quest where there's basically a water slide you can slide down to, and it's kind of like you're playing almost like a skiing game or something. It's not very long, but maybe for 5 seconds or something while you're going down the slide, you need to like turn left and right to avoid spikes. But it's kind of cool. I thought that was pretty cool design. So there's a lot of unique mechanics in here, so it's worth checking out. The next quest is called Memory Lapse. It's in a library. And what you're doing in this quest is you have to locate memories by finding certain books. And there's some cool puzzles in this quest. Well, really one specifically that involves trying to find the right section of the library, which I thought was pretty cool, and you have to kind of read the narration text a little bit to get that. I was able to figure it out pretty quick when I read it, but I did have to actually read the DM text, or not the DM text, the I guess whatever you want to call it, the narration text, not the actual DM, but there's like an altar you have to read text on to kind of tell you where to go, and I'm assuming that's randomized, not sure, but there's let me see, there's some very light Mario stuff in this quest as well, which some people, I know some people don't like Mario stuff. I don't think it's as unpopular as the community will make you seem like it is, but it's not. It's nothing big. It's just very light Mario stuff in this one. There's a quest later on in this pack I'll talk about, which has a much more significant Mario section. And by Mario, I mean platforming, if that's not clear. The next quest, The Price of Freedom. This is the one with the more significant Mario section. In this quest, you travel by boat to a giant castle. Basically, well, more like an airship than a boat, I guess. And there is at the beginning a very Mario-heavy platforming section in the beginning. Basically, for this section, it's to get from the airship to the castle that the quest is actually in. And to do that, you have to use this wand that they give you, which basically can spawn platforms that kind of air jet you up, basically, and you have to spawn them and jump on them. It reminds me a lot of a certain section in Mega Man 2 where you have to create platforms. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this in this quest. But it's not bad. There's a lot of other things to talk about in this quest other than just the beginning. This quest is probably the hardest in the pack in terms of trying to figure out where to go, and it's probably the longest quest as well. I did get a bit lost when I was running it. I don't know if you all who watched my my quest playthroughs that I uploaded several days ago, but it did take me. I got lost at a point, and it took me a little while to figure out where to go, because you need to find, there's a couple of items, levers you need to find to complete the quest, and if you don't know exactly where to go to get them, it can result in some backtracking. So maybe the first time you run this, maybe run it with a friend if you don't want to have to go into the quest and really figure things out. But it's not too bad. And the quest itself is it's well made. It's very immersive in terms of exploring. There's a lot to explore in the castle. The castle looks good. The outside looks really good. It's well-made quest, and it's very open and exploratory if you like that kind of thing. If you like flower sniffing, it's probably the best quest in the pack for that. It's not linear at all. So if you like that, then try this quest out. Okay, the last quest in the pack is kind of a big deal, and it's probably my least favorite quest, although it's still pretty solid. The title of the quest is a play on words. In this quest, there's an artifact that basically inside this cave you're exploring that makes monsters grow to a big size, and you have to end up fighting some of the large-sized monsters, which is cool. And later on in the quest, you yourself end up growing in size. Probably the one thing that annoyed me the most about the quest is when you are a giant in this quest, you move really slow. which I assume is to cancel out the fact that as a giant you have longer strides, and the environment looks like it was kind of shrunk in comparison. But I still found it to be an incredibly annoying mechanic. But maybe that's just me. It is this quest, unlike the last one I just talked about, is very linear, but it's still a pretty good quest. The giant mechanic, although I found being a giant to be a little annoying, it is pretty cool fighting giant monsters, and it's a cute little mechanic they put in there, a cute little visual thing. I don't know if I'd call it a mechanic, but it's definitely a cute visual thing. Although I will say I probably won't run it again. Although, like I said, it's still a pretty decent quest. I definitely can't complain too much. Okay, so let's talk about the quest as a whole. There is a new monster in this pack, which is the Manticore. And if you look at this picture of the Manticore in DDO compared to the Manticore in the actual Monster Manual, this is the 5th edition Monster Manual, they did a really good job of replicating it. It looks pretty much identical to what you see in the Monster Manual, so that's cool. All the quests in this pack have a lower mob density, so if you really hate packs like, say, like Slave Lords or Temple of Elemental Evil, where there's just mobs everywhere, this is not like this at all. There's not a, like, you don't need to have some, like, melee's can do pretty good in here because there's not a ton of, not a huge number of crowds of mobs to defeat. It's more focused on small encounters and red names and bosses and things, so it's not a quest where you have to worry too much. If you have a lower DPS, you can still, run this fairly quickly. The mob diversity is really good in this pack. There's all kinds of different monsters. As I said, there's the Manticore, which is new, but there's just tons of different monsters throughout DDO or spread out here. You don't see it. It's not a thing where you see like only kobolds or only oozes or anything like that, or only skeletons, anything like that. You see a wide variety of mobs in smaller groups. So that's one thing you can expect in this chain. Or not a chain, but in this quest pack. And there's just a lot of new and interesting mechanics and puzzles that I haven't seen before in DDO. And they made a cool little spin on a lot of different puzzles, a lot of different mechanics. So it's really cool. It's different. I will say that. The quests are very different, and that's a really good thing. As far as cons go, the major one for me in this pack, although I really, really like this pack, I think it's an excellent pack, is... The one con is they made only White Plume Mountain, the quest White Plume Mountain, only that one a level cap quest. So White Plume Mountain is level 32 with a level 9 heroic. I think I made a mistake earlier. I said they were all level 6. White Plume Mountain is actually level 9 heroic, level 32 in your epic legendary levels. Another Man's Treasure, and kind of a big deal, is level 21 and level 6 in heroics. Memory Lapse is level 23 in Epics, level 6 in Heroics. Price of Freedom is level 25 in Epics, level 6 in Heroics. So I don't like that. Just maybe it's just a personal opinion, but I would rather there be more in-game content. Like, I think in-game content is way more important than leveling content, especially considering we already have a ton of leveling content as is in the Epic levels. And I personally find in-game content to be more important because for most people I see, or at least a lot of people, they tend to run the most XP efficient quests when they are leveling their epic characters, when they're grinding for past lives, like epic past lives and iconic past lives, things like that. So I don't see just giving more leveling content. I personally don't think that philosophy is a great one. I would rather we really, really focus on in-game content and maybe just sparse some mid-epic content and early epic content in there from here and there. But I feel like this quest pack, especially not White Plume Mountain, but the other 4 quests, I feel like people are going to run them once and then not really touch them, because I know there are some incentives in the game, like sagas, to run a wide variety of content, but I don't see near enough incentive, even considering sagas, there for people to really diversify their content. I don't know if there's a saga for these quests or not. I'm assuming not yet, but I find that the sagas and things just aren't worth it. They aren't worth it as opposed to just running like Wizard King over and over and over. So I don't see enough content to run a wide variety of content when leveling through 20 to 30. That's why I don't really value that content over in-game content. I'd rather have more in-game content, because if you put good gear in those kind of quests, there'll be more replay value rather than just running and putting them as just more mid epic content that I don't think we really need, and I don't think most players will utilize. So, and it's a shame for me, because 4 of these 5 quests are really not going to have gear that you're going to be highly motivated to grind just to use for a couple levels while you're leveling your epic character. I don't see it really to be worth it to grind that gear, although I'm sure the gear in the other 4 quests not named White Plume Mountain will be desired by some players. I just don't see a lot of players desiring it. So that's the main negative, I think, of the pack. And it's a shame, because if the quests were all like above level 30, the gear in all the quests would be really good and really desirable in game rather than just the one. But again, that's just a personal opinion. You could have a completely different one, and that's fine. That's just how I feel about it. Okay, but the not so desirable loot in 4 of the 5 quests is really made up for the really desirable loot in White Plume Mountain, which I've already talked about. It's amazing because of the Spark of Memory and the Sentient XP gems. 2 really nice things, especially the Spark of Memory, that every single character in the game is going to want. But overall, the quests are really well designed, though. From strictly a quest design standpoint, these are excellent quests. Like, I couldn't ask for much more in terms of what DDO can do in terms of offering a wide variety of quests. I think they did an excellent job on the design itself. So yeah, that's my opinion. I think the quest pack is definitely worth buying. If you haven't bought it, you should definitely buy it. It's worth it for nothing else, just for White Plume Mountain alone. Even if you only play the other 4 quests once, it's still worth it just for White Plume Mountain, because the quest is cool. The loots are really, really good. So if you're into min-maxing, you're going to need to buy this pack. If you're into min-maxing, you're going to need to buy this pack just to get your Spark of Memory. So guys, let me know what you think about the Adventure Pack. I definitely say buy it. I'm really happy with the Adventure Pack. I think they did a really good job. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Again, comment below, let me know what you think. And guys, I will see you next time. Take care.